I think I love you.
Honey, we're moving.
If you don't know, Gunnar trains some of the most successful business people. It's anyone from J-Lo to the Kardashians.
I was driving along, I started humming the news jingle to an AM radio station, and I was literally going, KFWB. And I went, I'm becoming a weirdo. So I found a place to lock down, and I was there for 8 years. And then the guy had a different vision than I did, and he said, if I'm the #3 gym in the city, I'm fine with that. And I thought, ooh, I'm not. And so I left, and I opened my own.
Everything I ask you comes back to your family.
My parents, my brother, my wife, and my 4 kids. You made me start crying on your little podcast here. I gotta go. I'm out.
Welcome back to Max Out with Ed Mylett. Very excited to bring you this gentleman to my left here today. He is a wonderful husband, father, and friend. He also happens to be probably the most successful personal trainer in the world.
But I'm not a good businessman. That's the part you omitted from that. When you paraphrase me, he's a wonderful one. I didn't walk in saying wonderful that. I say I'm not a good businessman, but then I counter that with, but I'm good at husband, friend, father.
You are. You are good at that, and I think you're good at more than that. And I think you've built an unbelievable business. He doesn't give himself enough credit because I think it's because of who you compare yourself to also a little bit.
Years ago, I had a great, arguably greatest football player of all time, I'll leave that out, so you guys can all figure that out,
right.
Who said, it's always better when somebody says it about you.
It's true.
Right? You walk around saying it about yourself, you kind of look like a goof.
A fact. And so I'll look like the goof and say it about you. So
No, you don't look like a goof. I look like a goof if I say it.
All right, so we both look goofy. I think you all probably know a lot about Gunnar. There was a lot of kind of anticipation about the show here today. And I don't want to go down this direction, so I just want to get this out of the way in the beginning. If you don't know, Gunnar trains some of the most successful business people that walk the earth, some of the most successful entertainers and athletes, anyone from J-Lo to the Kardashians to Sampras to NBA players.
But I'm also in the right zip code, in fairness. I'm in the right space for that.
Yeah.
I get people reach out at trainers, I want to do what you do. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Right.
I live in Scotland. I'm like, nothing. Those are great, wonderful places, but the demographic of the potential clientele is just not there to do what I do.
Yes, but so he's going to do this the whole interview, just so you know. The whole interview, he's going to aw shucks it and not give himself any credit, and I will force him to tell you some of the things he's great at.
Humility is a lost art.
It is, and I appreciate it and respect it, but there are other trainers in your zip code who have not become as prolific and as successful as you have.
I have way better parking than they do.
You have better parking.
How am I doing?
So that's the key.
Duck, Perry, duck.
You personal trainers that are watching this that wanted all the keys, evidently it comes down to just parking. He also just got a great new gig. You're the strength and conditioning coach for the Lakers? What a wonderful, exciting job. You're a Laker fan too, aren't you?
Of course, I'm a basketball fan. It's hard, I'm a fan of the sport, of the sport that I cannot play, and that's not humility. That's been proven.
I believe that one. That one I believe. That one I believe.
Yeah. Head strength and conditioning coach for the LA Lakers, which is it's an ironic twist. I wanted that job back in the late '90s, and it wasn't there, and I went on and did other stuff, and then things come full circle, and I was asked, and it was a perfect fit. We have a young team, a great team. A lot of young potential, and I love working with that.
Congratulations, man. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go. I want to go back and talk about you a little bit too, because I was fascinated how someone ends up in a chosen career. So I'm reading about you. Were you really an overweight kid? Is that true?
I was in Weight Watchers when I was 10 years old. I was a fat kid.
You literally were in Weight Watchers?
Yeah, I was a fat kid, like full boobs, the whole thing. And I used to complain to my mom about it, probably while eating. Something I shouldn't have been. And my mom said one day, do you want to keep complaining or do you want to do something about it? And I go, well, I want to do something about it as soon as I finish these cookies. And so she said, we were in Houston, Texas. I was 10 years old, and she took me to Weight Watchers. I still have the card. I should have brought you that. It's pretty funny.
Wow.
And she took me to meetings, which I don't know that it would be the recommended course of action, especially in today's overly PC world. But it was important. It was a nice jump off for me because I saw other people who were way heavier than I was, and
are there a lot of 10-year-olds in Weight Watchers?
Yeah, there are none.
Yeah, there are none. You were in,
and there were a lot less than none in the 70s. So I was there, and it was information, right? So I'm getting information, and then as my mom packed my lunches, the lunches became different, right? The tuna fish didn't have mustard, it didn't have mayonnaise in it; it had mustard. I didn't have a Coke, I had a Fresca. And I know these aren't all perfect health choices, but when you're looking at a 10-year-old who's at the end of the day taking in too many calories, those are at least certain places you can make changes.
Yeah.
And I started dropping weight, and then I started cheating, and the whole thing. So.
But is that what sort of set the course for like your, I don't know, your proclivity or your interest in fitness? And
no, I got interested in fitness. I mean, I think, didn't we all get interested in this age range because of like Arnold and stuff?
Because of Arnold, yeah.
Arnold, and it's not unlike Bigger, Faster, Stronger, Chris Bell's movie. You look up to those guys on the big screen that are, you're like, that's cool, I want to be that guy. I think as a boy that you look at that as men, and you want to lift weights, and you want to be big and strong, and I mean, heroes, right?
Yeah. What's fascinating about it for me though is like, I often meet people who came from a dramatic, like, people ask me to coach them on self-confidence sometimes, right? And I'm like, one of the reasons I'm pretty good at that is because I was so insecure as a kid, so bad at it, I had to find like these tools and resources to actually just get to a baseline of confidence. I think it's interesting.
Did you just use sarcasm and wit? That's what I did.
Yeah, I did a lot. And you use that when you train people, which I want to talk about too. Like levity is a big deal when you're training somebody, I think. We'll visit about that too. But I just think it's interesting like that you started with that. Now then you end up going to Duke, which we won't completely hold against you, but did you?
Oh, you must not have gotten in.
Did you? I did not get in. They didn't take.
Red flag.
What was weird was I thought with a 760 SAT and a 2.8 GPA they would die to have me, but they don't have a lot of those.
Both sides of the SAT. That's the combined score.
That was the combined 760.
Ooh. Well, look, SATs do not make the man.
Evidently, right? Yeah, so I didn't even apply, to be honest with you. So you go to Duke. This is about you, not my educational and intellectual deficiencies.
Don't worry, I'll help you build up your confidence about not getting into.
Build me up, please. So what did you study at Duke?
Ooh, that's a great question. It wasn't exercise science. French and Spanish. Look, I grew up overseas.
French and Spanish?
Hold the phone. Okay. We left Texas. My father moved to the Middle East during the boom years, working for a Saudi Arabian businessman, and we were put in boarding school in Switzerland, and came out of there and went to Duke. But so you're a product of your environment, right? People say, "Oh, you speak languages," but we lived there. Mm-hmm. I had to speak the languages in order to understand what was going on in the classroom, in order to get lunch, in order to ask a girl on a date. You had to have the language. So you learn the languages. You taught the language in school every day in boarding school. We had 2 hours of French to start the day. Huh. So you're going to pick it up. And then you leave. It's not like you leave and it's just done. You leave and you have to use it on the bus, and you have to use it in school. And so the language is a product of your environment. And there are a lot of people out there that speak a lot of languages. So
How do you speak?
English, French, and Spanish.
And do you think that experience helps you in even training, like just the language piece, or being able to relate to different types of people?
So the exposure to the different cultures, the different types of people, the different socioeconomic backgrounds, as well as the languages, because all Latin based, and there's certain words you pick up that you go, oh, I know what that means, or I can understand what part of the language that word fits in. So language is a key to me. For the kids, travel is a key. Languages are key. And I think they're two of the best forms of education. Nothing against sciences and math, and all that's very important as well. But to me, becoming a well-rounded person and being respectful of other cultures, and understanding that America's a great country, phenomenal country. There are other countries that do certain things well. Let's not just discount them because they're not American.
Yeah, that's so true.
I have more American flags in my home than most people.
Right.
We're very pro-American, but at the same time, very respectful of other countries and other cultures, and I think there's more harmony that way.
I love that. So fat boy growing up a little bit, right? Overweight, Weight Watchers.
Overweight, like when it was shirts and skins going down the line. I would count that out and go, oh shit, I am going in front of you. Yeah, that's just, we're not doing that. And at the beach.
That's a great visual.
And at the beach, like right now, I started sweating when I got here. At the beach, I would wear a t-shirt because I was fat.
Wow.
And because I'm fair, I could just say, well, I don't want to get sunburned.
Right. I think that's funny, yet there are a lot of people who are watching this right now who relate to that, or have children who relate to that. And so
I'm not saying I handled it the right way.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have owned it. And today it might be like,
yeah.
And what?
Yeah, but it affected you for sure, right? And I
100%.
you know, there's no question it had an impact on you. You've scaled your business, but you've also built one heck of a brand. Like, you are a brand. When people knew, people in the fitness business especially, if I say your name, they know you. Let's talk a little bit. Let's go to the fitness stuff a little bit for a second, then we'll talk business. So, one of the things when you're training people, I'm curious. Some of them are not everybody that you meet is a celebrity or that you train is a necessarily a famous person, but most of them are pretty successful people. What have you learned from them?
Oh, so that's the funny part that's the part that people don't get. Talk less, listen more, right? There's so much you can glean from those people that have different jobs that cross over in different fields. If someone's pick my zip code, it's easy, right? 90210. You might have someone who does movies, TV, they have a music branch, or they have another product line, and you just go, shit, if that guy can do this, I can do that. Yeah. And that's also why when some people said, how are you going to take that Laker job? How could I not take that? First of all, I sat with my wife and kids, right, note to self, and I said, should I do it? We'll lose this much money in the beginning because it's not like it's a high-paying gig, but so there will be a financial loss at the outset. But here's what I see. Tell me what you think. And hands down around our family table, it was take it. And then it was, how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
How can you manage your time? You can't just, I have hard costs every month with my gym, and there's certain things that and your kids and your life, and if you're going to say no to XYZ finance, you better have a way to shore that up, right? So how are you going to do it? I said, it's going to come down to time management. How if Dwayne Johnson, Khloe Kardashian, Ryan Seacrest, LL Cool J, and Jennifer Lopez, and so many others can have multiple jobs, can I? And I'm not by any means saying I'm who they are, but if I'm able mind, able body, and I can map it out, and I have a decent support team, meaning wife and kids really, and my brother and my parents, and I have people who say you can do it. If I take the time to sit and map out, okay, I'll wake up at this time, I'll train at this time, I'll be at my gym at this time, I'll be with the Lakers at this time, I'll be back at this time, family time at this, and I have a structure, because to me, without structure, there's nothing. I had this conversation with my wife yesterday. So without structure, we lose it, and then we're losing the one thing we can't replace, which is time.
And so seeing these people, it's interesting, there's a lot of lessons right there. Like, one, talk about it with your family. Not every entrepreneur tells you to do that, right?
And I'm not saying every entrepreneur should, but I know I should.
It's your formula.
And I know that when I come in at night, or if I'm, I go to all my kids' games. So if I'm not going to be at your game, there has to be a reason, and I don't want my son or my daughter to look at me and go, you're not at my game? I want to be able to say, remember, sweetheart, I took that job, and I'm going to be at the Utah game that day, so I won't be able to make it, but I'll be at the next one. I want to have answers, and I want them to understand that they all were in on this.
What a wonderful lesson.
They shouldn't be victims of my choices, right?
What a wonderful example. The second thing you said that is something that people that are already successful have a hard time doing. It's easy to take steps back when you're at the, really already struggling. But when you've already reached a certain level, do you have the guts and the vision, is the word you use, to maybe take a step back financially to propel yourself further into the future? That's a huge lesson for business people, man. Because there becomes a level where people go, okay, now I'm comfortable.
They become more risk averse as they do that.
I think so.
And I think in becoming risk averse, not that you need to take unnecessary risk, but I think in becoming that, you might start to play it safe. Let me give it top of my head. I go to a lot of basketball games. Even before this gig, I went to a lot of basketball games. And I would say this to whoever was with me, something happens, you'll notice it in sports. A team builds up a lead, and then they start changing how they play, because they start playing safe, they start playing, and obviously defense wins championships, we all know this, but they start playing not to lose versus playing to win. And you end up, you've changed your game plan. Your game plan was serving you. And I'm not all for running up the score, but if I'm a coach and we practice this play, and this play is supposed to get us a touchdown every time or a fast break basket every time, and I can keep executing that, why wouldn't I execute that during a game just like it? And if that means the score is 100-20, then that's what that means.
That's
And hopefully the coach of the other team can find a way to take a positive and give a lesson to his team on how they just got spanked like that.
I love that. And I tell you, I think it's also like a pathway to being happier. the amount of kind of uncertainty you can deal with at any given time is actually connected to how happy you are. Like some of the happiest times in people's lives, if they look back on them, they were the most uncertain. Like it's when you were cramming for finals at Duke, or and you had a job, and you had to do this, and so you should chase uncertainty. I think not taking unnecessary risks is absolutely right, but I see so many people get to a pretty good place or even a great place, and then they do start playing not to lose. Defense wins championships, but playing defensively always is a formula to lose, and there's a difference. There's a subtle difference between those two. I love that. It's such great feedback. For being in a world that has so much stuff on it, that you and I both know that world, how much of a family man you are and how grounded you are. And I think it's important that more and more entrepreneurs see family men succeeding, because there's images and messages that, you can't have a great family. I mean, his wife and little boy are down playing on the beach right now, right?
We're actually going to go up to the playground in your neighborhood and, putting it right back on you. You said, have them come down. And I said, no, they don't want to intrude. You said, have them come down. There's no one here.
We would love that.
So, yeah. But I wouldn't have done the trip down here. She said, let's make it a day. I said, let's do it. So you packed a little guy up. It worked out perfectly.
And Zane's like your twin, by the way. I was reading that, like, for example, Kim Kardashian, she'll drive an hour one way to come train with you. So clearly it wasn't the zip code necessarily, right? But when they approach their workouts, do you see something different? Like, I have this theory that people that are that kind of that 1% thing, I don't know, do they attack differently? Do they approach a training session different? What do you notice with, whether it's a successful CEO or an entertainer or someone like that, actually training them? Is there anything you notice with them that's different?
Yeah, what I see almost across the board in the successful people who've come there to work out is the single-minded focus. And that doesn't mean that there's like hyper intensity, max weights, let's go. But we're definitely getting through something start to finish. They get there on time, they leave when it's over, they have somewhere to go after. So it's a piece of their day, right? And they're not going to be denied. They rarely cancel. This is funny, I use a program to log all my workouts, right? Two programs. One to log the workouts themselves, so I know what anybody, God forbid anybody says their shoulder hurts, I can look back on the last 2 workouts and say, well, we did this. I don't know how that would translate, but maybe. But I use another one to log hours. And I've used that program, I've been doing this 29 years. I've used that program now for 25 or 26 years. I have, I checked it 2 days ago, I have an 8.7 something percent cancellation rate over that many years. And to me, that means I have 91, 92, there's that math thing
that's
again.
Good. There's that Duke thing.
How am I doing?
It's kicking in.
Right. Percent attendance, I look at that and I go, that's not credit to me, that's credit to them. But more importantly, that shows you what kind of people they were anyway. This is just proof that they were those people. Right? It wasn't a fluke that they became successful in their careers. Because look how they executed at the gym. They showed up 91.5% of the time. That's an A, dude.
Yeah, it's an A. And some of the highest identity, most busy people on the planet, right?
And pulled, and this is what people say, well, if I had a trainer, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. It's not about having the trainer. It's about having the ability to commit and to compartmentalize and to say, I'm doing this for that time. Because they are pulled in so many different directions. It's not like, Chloe just gets a jeans line. Right? It's not like Dwayne Johnson just gets a TV show. Those are meetings and ideas and brainstorming sessions and texts, and those things take on, it's another time channel, right?
They clearly keep coming back to you, though, and I'm curious from a business perspective. I've heard you say this before because you're a trainer, but you approach the business. I thought this was awesome because it's true of almost any business we would describe. What business are you really in? So you're a trainer, but what business would you say you're in above all?
I'm great at connecting people. I can't monetize it for shit. I wish there were a way to say, let me introduce you. Oh, you need a contractor? Well, oh, you're looking for a car? Oh, your wife needs a new OBGYN? Oh, I can connect to so many things that have nothing to, and we all, in our trade, we develop certain go-to lines. And I always say, I can't get you into any restaurants or clubs, but anything in health, wellness, medical, I got you. I know the top shoulder surgeon. I know the top knee surgeon. I know the top nutritionist, the top dentist. I got orthodontist, and then I have
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, but it's being years where I am, and I can also call them on their cell and connect you like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, clubs. I don't even know what clubs are hot now.
Yeah,
Restaurants.
I don't see all the clubs.
I got a couple go-to restaurants, but it's nothing that you'd probably want to go to.
Right.
And it makes me happy. Nothing makes me happier than someone. I had a call a couple weeks ago. Somebody said, "I chipped my tooth. What can I do?" And it was a Friday afternoon. I go, "Stand by."
Boom.
Yep. And they were in the chair within 2 hours getting the video. And I thought, that's what I can do.
Because you approach it like I've never heard this before. You approach it. This is such a lesson because a lot of trainers watch this. How do I grow my practice, right? But
that goes both ways. If that dentist gets someone who's lying there going, I feel so fat when I lie in this chair, it makes me really see my stomach. Well, I mean, the analogy I would use is a restaurant analogy, right? It's you pull into the gym, you pull up to a restaurant. Is there a place to park? And I goof about parking, but in LA, parking is a very real thing. Is that difficult? How much of a headache was that? Getting into the place, you walk in, is there someone who stops you, greets you? Do they remember you? Is there a rhythm and a flow to what you do when you get there? Or is it a whole check in, who are you again? I mean, little things like that can slow the roll, and it's a lot less fun overall. And the next time the person has to go to that, they go, I'm not going. And then to me, then your cancellation rate goes up. Even if you're charging for cancellations over time, that goes away too. You won't go back to the same restaurant forget the food I take for granted. If the whole experience that preceded the meal was a pain in the ass.
Bro, I had one of those last night. The food was great. The experience was crap. We'll never go back.
And the experience can be bad on either end.
Yeah.
Right? Usually we tend to, selective amnesia, we tend to forget what happened in the middle if the food was good, right? But if you ask for the bill and it's 20 minutes, puts you in a bad mood on the way out. You get to valet, 20 minutes, and valet is a real thing in LA. Every restaurant is valet, or a lot of them, right? That kills the whole vibe. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Or the waiter just disappears and you can't even ask what you're like, we've been here 15 minutes.
You were at my dinner last night. All of those things happen. No, but I think as you're an entrepreneur, if you are one watching this, how conscious are you from the entire experience the client has with you? Are you in the service business from the minute they got there?
Cold water, room temp. Some of my clients like cold, some like room temp. We have water and towels out for every person. That's a service. Well, I don't provide that. Well, you should. And if you don't, we can't afford that. But raise your rates. If I ran a hotel, the minibar would be free. Now the room would cost a lot more, but the minibar would be free all the time. Yes, you're going to get a couple of jerk-offs who empty the minibar out as they leave. Okay, fine. But you're also going to get people who don't touch it. And you need to find that sweet spot in your price point to make that work for you. Because nobody at the higher end of any service wants to be nickel and dimed.
I 100% believe that. And I think you entrepreneurs listen to this. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you have a bakery, a dry cleaners, or you're a software engineer. All of these things are so important as an entrepreneur. See, these are the things like, and I mean this with respect, you know this, it's not just the zip code. Because for someone they have to want to come back. They have to want to keep coming back.
It's their disposable income. Watch this. Yeah. It's their disposable income, their limited free time for something that is arguably painful.
Right.
How are you making that? Hey, want to come back?
Right.
You have to make it as fun or as positive as it can be. There should be so many, and in fact, only positive associations with their experience with you that when training comes up, when cold water comes up, or room temp water, or your name comes up, there's a positive association that happens. That is the best PR machine you could ever create.
You were saying earlier, we were talking, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you're very well known that you don't have a publicist. And
I've never had a publicist.
And I think the reason you're so well known is what you just described. When your name comes up, there's a positive association and your clients are raving fans about you. What's it like then? Now I'm being trained by you, okay? And I think trainer is like it's a partner, but it's also a leader. And so I think there's some principles in being a trainer that also transcend other businesses. My sense of you is people that are trained by you, this is really a unique balance. They got to be accountable to you to an extent because you're being trained by them. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yet you make them comfortable in your presence, and they enjoy your presence.
Accountable? What do you mean? In what way accountable?
Well, we're gonna do squats now. We're gonna do this, and so they're with you in their presence. We're gonna do 6 of these, or 8 of these, or 12 of these. Yeah. There's a relationship between what you've asked them to do and them doing it. I think they're
accounting. And I get this question. I go, "Oh, you're gonna make me do that?" I go, "I'm not gonna make you do anything. We can do whatever you want. Do you want to do something else? What do you want to do? Let's just do what you want to do." And then they go, "Oh my God, it's so hard." I go, "Do you just want to do the easy stuff?" And anybody who's worked with me will go, "Oh my God, that's exactly what he says." I go, "Do you just want to do the easy stuff? We can do that. What do you want to do? Should we fuck it? Let's just go get breakfast. You want to do that? We can do that. You want to do that? I just have to be back at 9 because I have somebody. You let me know." And then they look at you and they realize they brought me in to this equation to map out, right, to steer clear of any of the landmines in the fitness world, and now they're going to counter it. I mean, we can, but right?
So you do. So you check them. You get them to set their own standard.
But in a fun way. I don't admonish. The stuff you see on TV, yelling at people, degrading, doesn't work in a gym.
It doesn't work outside of the gym. I used to be a business guy like that when I was young. People ask me all the time what were mistakes I made, like as a young businessman. I didn't treat people like they should be treated periodically. I learned that as I got a little bit older, and so I'm curious to get me through a workout. I'm making it up. I'm an entertainer. Doesn't matter which one of them. It's a lot of work there. What do you use to get them through? Do you use levity? Do you use humor? Do you use distraction? Like, what do you use? What's a tool you use to help someone get through a tough workout?
So, I write. I have every workout written for everybody. I write them up the night before. My kids do homework. Yeah. I do my homework, and I print them out. And I start with, this is a template. It's not a Bible, right? So
template.
You have that trainer who goes,
"That's open. Let's
use
that."
We're over here. You should leave that trainer because that person's making it up as they go, and you should make it up as you go yourself and not pay that person. That's just bad for our business. So I map it out. So I have a plan. That's the first tool. The second tool, I ease them into it, not meaning we don't do, like, there's a formula, right? There's things they can count on, their rituals, right? They start with 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes on a piece of steady state cardio equipment. Not that I don't believe in dynamic warm-ups, and I'm for all that, but these are people who need to get out of the outside world and get into what we're doing. It allows them, and all the stuff, by the way, is facing the window, so they can look out, blue sky, just think about, okay, and they, all right, bump, I'm in the gym, here we go. And that's, right, so everything outside of the gym is outside, inside the gym is in, and then we get to work, and we go through 8, 9, 10, 11 movements, 2, 3, 4 times, depending on what the movements were, how many of them were unilateral, and we sequence them in a way that takes you up, and like that. So we create a cardiovascular experience for your body during doing what would be maybe more traditionally viewed as anaerobic movements, right? So if I sequence push-ups, squats, crunches a certain way, you're going to get a different cardiovascular response than if you did them set after set after set, old school training. So there's that. And the way to work us through all that is levity, callback. Those are little things. You have to remember, you have to listen. Remember the person's spouse's name, remember the person's kid's name, remember events in that person's life. You say, well, that's a lot to remember. It's not that much. People are more likely to engage with someone who they feel cares about them.
I totally agree with you. And I also, it's really interesting that you say that, because that transcends just being in the fitness business. Almost every other business, these things matter, particularly my business and the financial business. You better know some of those details if you're going to keep a client long term, because every other dude, every other lady out there is trying to get your client, right?
But your job as a trainer is not just to crush people. It's just such a, it's bad for business. The person leaves, and I've heard trainers say, "I destroyed that dude. He won't walk tomorrow." And you just think, what are you thinking? He has a negative experience, and somebody he's going to get up like, the next day like that. And somebody in his inner circle is going to go, "What's the matter?" My trainer just destroyed me. And they're going to go, "Is that really good for you?" Or, why do you, and they planted the seed that you actually planted. They've watered the seed that you planted.
Is there an exception to that? If you have a guy who says, "I want you to obliterate me every time I come in here, that's my standard," there's an exception.
Sure.
You must train a guy or two like that,
For
right?
sure.
But that's their standard.
And I think some of them don't know what that is, right? I mean, we have a puke bucket in our gym, and it's painted pink for obvious reasons. because puke is color pink, please. It's not,
You don't want those letters.
Right. But it's used infrequently. I bet you it's been used less than 5 times in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a couple things. I'm someone watching this, and I get access to Gunnar Peterson for a minute here, and I've not worked out much. I'm not in shape. I want to turn my physical life around a little bit, and I get a minute with you. I can't come to your gym. I live in Des Moines, Iowa. What would you tell me about changing my life from a physical standpoint, my fitness journey, my health, my wellness? What would you tell me?
I'd say you probably need help, meaning don't be shy. A lot of people think, well, it's a gym. I mean, it's obvious. I know how to do it. You probably don't. Yeah. Right? And you go farther. The people who've been in gyms for a long time, that doesn't make you a trainer. Right? It's just because you commuted from New York to DC every week. After 5 years, you're not a pilot. Okay? You're not. I'm sorry. I know you're on the plane a lot, but you're not a pilot. And you're in the gym a lot, but you're not a trainer. It's just a different skill set. Doesn't mean everybody can't be a pilot or a trainer, but you gotta learn it. But for that person, hire someone. Whether it's, and I also think don't try to overhaul your whole life in one go, right? Don't make Monday the day you quit smoking, quit drinking, commit to 8 hours of sleep and 5 workouts a week with a trainer, and you're gonna go vegan. It's a lot. It's like,
so true.
It's something, start slowly, add on. I go back and forth with my good friend and nutritionist, Dr. Philip Golion. He's like, diet's 80% of it. I go, diet's not 80% of it. When you're 100% away from the goal, anything that you start with is going to be the biggest part, and then you start adding. When you get down to within 10% of what your ultimate you, diet is probably a bigger, more important, from an aesthetic at least, and performance too, but it's going to be a bigger part of it. But when you're starting, don't just tell them diet. Wherever they're comfortable. I get some people who say, I don't even want to look at my diet right now. I just want to start working out. I go, okay. And then as they leave, give them 2 quick diet things that maybe they may or may not, put to use.
Okay.
If they say, I really want to get my diet under control and then I'd like to come to you, okay, great. You should call this guy. Don't just pull it out of a magazine. If you're not doing something that looks at your blood, I mean, can you have results? Sure. If you blindfold a monkey and have it throw a dart, can it hit the bullseye? Sure. Not likely, but it could. So use a professional, right? If you're looking to get better at a sport, hire a tennis coach, hire a soccer coach for your kid, whatever it is, and then that's what that person should do.
Yeah, I have a book that I'm going to be coming out with pretty soon. One little chapter on its fitness, max out your fitness. First thing I recommend is hire a trainer.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I say, ironically, is, it's interesting that you said that, start with something that is maintainable from the very beginning.
I have a quote written in my window. My wife is putting it on the back of sweatshirts now. It says, if it's not sustainable, it's not successful.
I love that.
It's not.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, can you get there? Yeah, sure. Can you live there? No chance.
Roughly speaking, in general, for a non-professional athlete, generally speaking, how long should a workout be? Within a range.
Secretary of Health and Human Services, I think they said between 30 and 90 minutes a day, and people went, 90 minutes, impossible. Okay, so go with the 30. And maybe Saturday, you're free, go to 45. Play with it. But let's see, can you do, what was that Jorge Cruz book, 6 minutes in the morning, 8 minutes in the morning? 6, 5, 4, 3, where are we?
Right.
But, I mean, something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey says, just break a sweat every day. So everybody has their thing, and a sweat through activity. Like sauna doesn't count as a workout. So
sauna doesn't count as a workout. Right. Do you think, it's interesting, I don't cut you off there, but I think people ask those questions as a mechanism.
It's a pushback.
That's what I think.
That's
what I think.
Okay, and they're keeping you. Just embrace it. Whatever it is, it is. Go do a workout. What does that mean? That means go to the gym and pick 6 exercises and do them 3 times through, and then get on a piece of cardio for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Well, which ones? I don't know. Right. Now you got to hire a trainer.
Now you hire a trainer, or at least just start the process too, right? Exactly.
But also, what are your goals? If you get someone who's looking that weighs 400 pounds, they're looking to knock off 200 pounds, that's different from somebody who's 200 wants to be 180. That's different from a woman who's 110 wants to be 125, or 125 wants to be 110. Those are all weight, numbers. Then you go, what about a different species of biped who's not completely, mastered by the scale? So you're going to be that guy who doesn't let the inanimate object tell you how good you should feel about yourself? Love talking to you.
Love that. Yeah.
And let's go. Then we're going to try this.
So about the Lakers, you got to be excited about this.
Love.
This is cool, right?
Love.
So I'm fascinated by the diversity of your training. Like, you know, you do have a Chloe or a J-Lo or someone like that. Then once in a while I see there's a Tommy Brady workout, or now it's NBA players though, right? These are the greatest athletes in the world to me. And so, and you're a basketball fan, and so are you nervous about this? Are you excited about this? And what exactly are you going to do with these guys?
I did all last season was my first year.
Okay.
Anxious, apprehensive, eager, probably all better words for me.
Is it the same with them, Gunnar? Like, are each of them? It's funny now that you've been talking about this. I'm just curious. So they're all different guys too. One guy's 7 foot, one guy's 6'1". So not all of them are.
And some of them, and they range in age from 19 to 35.
Yeah.
And they have X amount of experience, and some of them are known only to go to the right side. Some of them work very well to both sides. Some of them don't have the lower extremity strength that they need. Some of them have trouble taking a hit. And basketball, when you grow up, you're taught it's a non-contact sport. Basketball is very much a contact sport, especially at that level. Very physical, a lot of contact. So it's a challenge. And I look at it like that. It's fun. Yeah, there were days when you drive in and go, okay, what are we doing today? I mean, I've mapped it out, but how are we going to get this going today? And I have two great dudes who work with me, Josh Wright and Nadi Vase down there, and we put together programming that a lot of the guys, while they're lifting, they're learning to lift because they're not coming from a formal lifting background, right? What they do on court with our coaching staff is terrific. That stuff's handled. That's not my domain. But the weight room is, and you want to make sure that you're two things. You're keeping them engaged in it, right?
Yeah.
Because I want this to serve them through their entire careers, because I know it can. And I want them to want to do it. So there's a bit of a sell to it. And there's also, is it something that's going to translate directly to their success on the court?
Yeah.
Which means it has to be consistent.
Do you work with them in the off season too, or just during the season?
Yeah, this off season we split it up where we're at the facility still. So guys who are here get all of us, and then guys who travel will dispatch either one of the guys who works with me, or I will go and just be there for a couple days more to see who they're working with. And we gave them exit cards, to say, here's what we, broad stroke stuff, here's what your focus should be on. Share this with whoever you hook up with in the off season, and all of our phone numbers are there and contacts. Have the guy text. And one of our young guys, Ivica Zubek, the center, the Croatian center, right? Great kid, great guy, was already in Croatia for a couple weeks, and I was on with his trainer every 3 days. What's he doing? How's he feeling? Yeah, you got to keep up. It shows him we're interested, and we are, and it shows that we have a hand in his development,
That's so
which
cool.
you're supposed to do.
That is
a lot of these guys, they check out, they're gone, and they don't. There's no contact anymore.
Yeah, right.
That's not the kind of Laker culture that we're trying to do. We're there for these guys all the time. All of our cells, text us anytime, we're there anytime, and we'll talk to whoever you have in your circle, whether it's a trainer, an on-court guy, a nutritionist, whoever it is. They'll connect with the Laker counterpart of that department.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. They got some cap money. I'm going to be curious who you get to work with next year.
It's going to be big.
I think there's going to be some big time dudes coming in there. So a couple more things. I'm really enjoying this, by the way. There's people watching this, and the reason I ask you it, let me give you context, is people find these messages at different times of their careers, of their lives, right? Like, it's not been 29 perfect years of doing this, right? Has there been a time that was not great? And you don't have to say specifically what it was if you don't want to, but you can. And then what did you do to get out of it?
So I'd had my own gym for a while, and when I got divorced, the gym went away. It was attached to the old house. And my manager at the time said, look, I was riding high, I had an infomercial that was doing well, I had a book that was killing, and I had speaking gigs, not like your stuff, but smaller, same thing, just miniaturized. And she said, you don't need a gym. You should just, you can do the speaking thing. And I said, yeah, but the gym is the mothership. The gym is my lab. That's one of the ways that you almost sound corny to say you express yourself, but I can do things in that gym that can translate to what my clients do and make them better, give them better workouts, provide better training protocols. I can test things. I can try out equipment. So did I think about it? I mean,
wow.
Sure, you thought about not opening a gym? Ooh, no more overhead. There go those insurance costs.
Yeah.
then it'd have to be at somebody else's gym. That's not going to work.
So you chased your own vision though during that time.
I had to.
Because when
she wasn't. Nobody was poo-pooing it,
No.
but from a practical side, and I think also my manager probably saw the stress it was taking on me.
Yep.
I went from when I first started doing a lot of in-home people, right, 29 years ago, and then I was driving along and I started humming the news jingle to an AM radio station, and I had my cooler with like a yam and chicken breast and distilled water, and I was literally going KFWB, and I went, I'm becoming a weirdo. I literally had the thought, I'm weird. I'm humming a news jingle. It's not even a song. I mean, it is a song, no disrespect to jingle writers, but I'm that guy now, and everything I say is true and accurate because shit, I just said it. So I'm in a vacuum. I gotta get out. And I started going to all the gyms around where I lived and say, hey, I'm a trainer, here's my resume, here's what I do.
Wow.
Can I train here? Can I train here? I was on the road, 110 miles a day in LA traffic. It was too much. So I found a place to lock down, and I was there for 8 years. And then the guy had a different vision than I did, and he said once to me, you're upset because I don't fix this or do this at the time you would like it. If I'm the number 3 gym in the city, I'm fine with that. And I thought, ooh, I'm not. I don't even know what the number gym, I didn't know we ranked them. I don't know what number 1 looks like, but I know I'm not cool just taking the bronze, not just gonna take that and say thank you.
I love it.
And so I left and I opened my own. And then when that went away, I went back to just 5 people in their homes.
Wow.
Right, so I was seeing 5 all huge stars, but boom, 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 done at 2:30, 3 o'clock, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I thought, I'm doing the same thing I used to, and it was fun, of course, it's like a new chapter. And then I thought, I'm doing the same thing I used to do, I'm just doing it in a better car. Is that news station still here? I mean, and I don't want to be that. And I was at the same time, of course, looking at buildings to open a gym, but it was proving difficult. Costs, parking, everything, and there were times when I thought,
wow,
I just stick with this. Infomercial still running, books still selling, I'm good.
I love that.
But I'm not good. I need a mothership. Plus I got a shit ton of equipment.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't want to just have it in storage in Gardena somewhere. I mean, I like it. I play on everything I have. I do have a few storage units with equipment in it, and eventually when I wrap it all up, wherever I go, I will still have a giant barn with equipment because that's just who I am.
That's your deal.
Yeah.
I love it. A lot of lessons again, man. I gotta be honest with you. Like, I'm eating this up because one, entrepreneurs are super self-aware. You're driving in there, you're like, I'm becoming a weirdo, right? And
fully. And I went that day and
immediate
started
action.
I had to, but also where I lived at the time on La Cienega in West Hollywood, there were a ton of gyms around, right?
Yeah.
So I must have hit 4 the first day.
That's
I went in, here's my resume, and some of the guys were like, what's this? I've never seen a trainer with a resume.
Yep.
And that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome because I think also, Gunnar, I think Malcolm X has this quote that I use all the time.
By
It
any
says,
means necessary.
well, that's
I use that all the time with clients.
Okay.
By any means necessary.
Any means necessary, and that which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. And so you got to this point, you're like, I fucking hate this.
I have it written in my window. It says, if you tolerate it, they will perpetuate it.
See,
it's written in my window at the gym.
I knew I loved you.
Yep.
I knew it. Isn't that crazy that you have that?
You can't allow that. So you have to have certain boundaries.
Yeah. Bro, I think I love you.
Honey, we're moving.
I'm telling you. All right, one more thing. Man, I'm really impressed. And there's so much more depth. I wish we could go longer. I'm curious, though, I kind of get your transition. I'm fascinated by people that are the best at what they do, like in whatever it is. It just fascinates me. Do you know what drives you? Do you know what it is?
Also, I go back, you're going to go, oh, humility, faux humility. It's not the best at what you do. I think that's so subjective because there's so many people out there that love their trainers, and that's exactly who they should be with.
Yeah.
If the trainer is, in any field though, if the trainer is passionate and detail oriented, but those are also qualities that I like in friends, in people I'm around, right?
Me too.
You're detail oriented. You don't have to be, sleeping with the enemy OCD guy, but you got to be there's a rhyme and a reason, and things go a certain way in life, and that's just how that sets. And look, we should change that.
Yep.
Not just the aesthetic and the visual, but
Yep.
there's certain things that happen in a certain way, right?
Yep.
We do family dinner every night at my house, and
Always come
at
back
our
to
house.
that.
Yeah, we work on manners, table manners,
Yeah.
and that's a lost art.
It is.
But they got to know, because they're going to go out, and I've had my middle son text me and say, Dad, I'm so glad I know the manners. I know I was at a dinner and so ate like a pig, and I'm like,
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes.
But because you're going to go, and maybe everybody at the table has bad manners, maybe, but maybe the one guy
Someone
who
notices.
you are trying to get a job from, or who you were drawn to, watches you eat and goes, my God, this guy's a pirate. I've never had,
You got
right?
it.
You know?
You got it.
Little things. So you practice it, and we talk about it. That's practice. When they're out in the real world, when they're at a restaurant, I don't say a word, because that's a game, right? So practice. Watch Phil Jackson's old coaching. He said he used to sit.
Yes.
He goes, I don't yell during the game. He did very little actual coaching
Yes.
on the bench, because he said, we've been over this.
Yes.
I shouldn't have to coach. And I think that's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Not that doesn't work for some guys and some coaches who have younger teams, or who have guys who are still meshing. That's all valid. But when you have a machine that runs a certain way, right, you're not.
Isn't it interesting about that? By the way, my favorite compliment is if someone tells me something about my son or my daughter when I'm not there in their presence, about how they behave or their manners or they conduct themselves.
I've gotten those emails, and I just go,
That's
way better than you sending me an email about something I did.
100%.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And the other thing, it's interesting about coaching and what you just said about practice in the game. Arguably the greatest NBA coach of all time is probably Phil. He's in the conversation. And arguably the greatest college coach of all time is probably Wooden. And both of those guys behaved almost identically on the sidelines.
Did you just not even mention Coach K in that?
I'm sorry, brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to leave a mark.
He's on the list, but he's not Wooden.
It's
By
a
the way,
super short list.
it's a short list. But we're in Southern Cal, so I got to acknowledge the UCLA guy. So I'm curious, to finish with that though, do you know what drives you? 10 or 15 great years in front of you right now, right? Longer than that, but 10 or 15 years, like you're in your go zone right now. Do you know what drives you, and do you know what you want out of those years?
No, you want to be able to provide financially for your family. You want to make sure that you're, you see, what is it, Warren Buffett or Bill Gates, I'm going to leave my kids $10 million. You're like, okay, I mean, that's not nothing, but
Right.
okay, if that's what you want to do. I think as long as they're on the right path and they're doing good things and they're pursuing passions and they're contributing to the tapestry of the world and not just taking, then I want them to have you work so I get up at 3:45. I work so that my kids get up at 4:30. Now, if they start sleeping till 6:30, again, that's if they have that kind of job, right? A front-loaded job. If they're DJs, then by all means, please sleep till noon. But people, you get up so early. I don't get up. I get up at the right time for a trainer. You know, I'm also home every night by 5. Bam, home.
Right.
So, and I've gotten my own workout in that time.
In that window.
Yeah, so I don't get home and then go work out. When I'm home, I'm home. And I mean, I have a little bit of work with the writing of the workouts, but that's it. Other than that, I'm there for the family. So, financially, you want to be set. You want to be able to provide for your family, right? You don't want anybody to want for anything, within reason. No, I still have some things that I'd like to see happen in the world of health and fitness. I would like the training game to be elevated. I would like trainers to be better. I see it. I think as we go, it's an age of specialization. I think more and more people are hiring trainers now, all right? So and I want those people to be able to get what they deserve to get for their disposable income. You're spending money for someone to shepherd you through this unsolvable mystery of fitness. Whether they do or they don't, at least the journey should be pleasant and they should give you what you deserve. So I would like the training game to be raised, right? Not that there's not room for all different levels of trainers. The hotel analogy, it could be a Best Western, it could be a Hyatt, a Hilton, it could be a Four Seasons. All are good hotels, all are good business models, all do well, but you kind of know.
You know what you're getting.
Wouldn't you be super surprised if you got the reception from the concierge or the person at the desk at a Best Western that you got at the Four Seasons? But I think if you're going to rent a room, that they should want to give you that. And I'm sure that they teach that to their employees. I would just want that lesson to be ingrained.
I think the most fascinating thing about you, man, is that your people that win have big old reasons, right? Everything I ask you comes back to your family.
Oh yeah.
And you take for granted.
But not just my wife and kids.
Yep.
My brother.
I know.
And my parents. That's everything. My parents, my brother, my wife, and my 4 kids. That's, you get that question. You make me start crying on your little podcast here. I gotta go. I'm out. You go, if you could have dinner with anybody over any space of time, alive or dead, who would it be?
Yeah.
I just told you.
You just told me.
That's who I'd want to have dinner with.
I love that about you. I love that.
There's nothing I want to ask Christ. I mean, nothing I want to talk to Einstein about. There's no lyric of princes that I would want to go into depth. I mean, but if I could have one dinner with anybody I wanted, it would be my parents, my brother, my wife, and my 4 kids.
I love that. And by the way, everybody, I want to tell you something. This is the exact same conversation we had off camera. This isn't for show. This is who this man is. I think it's.
I don't know how to. I'm not an actor. I can't be one way.
Everything we talked about off camera, and the other thing too, I think it's most fascinating that in a guy who's in the center of the world, that's sort of everything, sometimes not that, right? It's sometimes everything away from those things, whether it's material or fame, and by the way, and those things are wonderful too, that in the center of that universe, there's such a deeply seated family man, and that's been the key to his success. And I think that's everything he just said, and I think that's just such a takeaway for everybody watching this today, is to have these big reasons, but at the end of the day, these big old houses and watches and all that stuff are completely meaningless without what he's got going on right down there with Zane and his beautiful wife. So,
and the phone call with my brother yesterday, and FaceTiming him, and then talking to my mom, and that's my son from college calling me, my other son going to college, my daughter, are you going to make my field hockey game today? Those calls, those things, all this stuff fuels that fire.
I love that, brother. I hope that everybody saw this side of you today, then they didn't know all of these things about you. Because
instead of thinking I was just a sarcastic asshole?
Well, yeah. No, I think it's amazing the breadth of what we went through, but the part that probably is the most meaningful to me is just to know who you are and to know what's really made you successful. And I really do respect you. I really do admire you.
And you. It's why I wouldn't have come down here if I didn't feel the same way.
Thank you, man.
Mutual admiration society.
Thanks, brother, so much. Thanks, Gunnar.
Much.
Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's program. I bring you some of the best people in the world, even the ones who won't admit they're the best people in the world at what they do. All I ask you to do, if you're watching this on YouTube, give the thing a like or make a comment. If you're on iTunes, give it a review. And don't forget, everybody, the 2-minute drill on Instagram. Every day when I make a post, you got 2 minutes to make a comment with #MaxOut. We pick a daily winner, get you a book, coaching call with me. Maybe you meet some of my guests as well. So go ahead and take advantage of that. God bless you, and Max out.